Hello and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Bill Hirschman, founder of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com, and today I will be the host. Today we are calling our show Picture This, and you'll find out why in a moment. But first, let me introduce our panelists for today. Sherry Upman, who is a producer and director and has graced the stage for both acting and dancing. Marjorie Lowe is an award-winning actress who performs all over the country, be it Shakespeare or Edward Albee. She does it all. And Teddy Harrell, I have to take a breath, who is the Assistant Center Director at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center and Producing Artistic Director at the African American Performing Arts Community Theater. That was a mouthful. And our special guest today is none other than Manny Hernandez, also known as Manny of Miami, whose photography has made him a celebrity in his own right. But we like to call him a celebrity photographer. Welcome, Manny, and thank you for coming.
Wow, thank you for inviting me.
So, over the last 25 plus years, you have documented the changes in Miami, and particularly in South Beach, but across Miami. What are the trends and the changes that you've seen, having been a direct eyewitness of what's been happening?
Well, I think there's many things that have changed. I think the celebrity culture of it has changed. When I started, there was no social media. There was no, instant gratification. It was film. So I shot film, and capturing celebrities at candid moments was a unique thing. And now everybody has a phone. Everybody's taking pictures. So back then I didn't know what I had. So, they said, hey, so-and-so is here. I would go there, shoot it. But I didn't know until the following day what I had, So it always, there was always a surprise. Did I get the aperture right, or did I get the speed right? Did I get the right film? It was a lot of things that had to happen for me to get a shot. Nowadays, you could just do it. You add a filter. You could send it around the world in a second. And so I think the celebrity culture in that aspect has changed. Back then, there was stars. Not that there isn't stars now. I'm just saying now you have like YouTube stars. You have celebrity chefs that are celebrities. You have
reality stars.
Reality stars. Housewives. You have
the real housewives.
Real, not real, all sorts of things,
Everything in between.
The real or not real, the real, So I think it's just a different level of celebrity culture. Another thing for South Florida, I feel like then there was a lot more movies going on. The film industry was happening. Unfortunately, we have things with incentives and things like that, but you probably watched The Birdcage, or you would still probably watch even Scarface, or watch, all these movies. Something About Mary, all these movies were filmed here, and they're still promoting South Florida, promote. So these incentives are very crucial to this industry. So, and I covered a lot of that. So I covered a lot of the movies that were filmed here, whether it was True Lies or Antonio Banderas filming with Sarah Jessica Parker, or all these celebrities filming in Miami, so or in South Florida for that matter, because I covered everything from Miami all the way to Palm Beach.
How have those changes affected the way you do what you do?
Well, I mean, there would be a lot more celebrities down here, so it's harder to get the A-list celebrities. So now you get the chefs and the things. Nothing against the chefs. I love the chefs, and a good picture is a good picture. It doesn't matter who it is. But sometimes if it's Jack Nicholson, it might help a little bit better on the photo, right? You say, wow, Jack Nicholson is, on the beach, so it's something different. Another thing, we also had, we had a lot of designers. We had a lot of fashion designers in South Florida. We had, all sorts of incredible people. The fashion industry was a big thing, so we had all the big models, whether it's Cindy Crawford or Elle Macpherson or, they're household names. And right now, I can't even name a model. Like, if you named a model, I still have to go back to the 90s to say, oh, Cindy
Jenner,
Crawford.
the gal.
Yeah.
that-
I mean, so you have,
she's-
yeah, right. One of the Jenner, Kylie Jenner, the Jenner sisters. But it's changed in that aspect.
But you're still here in Miami, and I know you started here, and you work in LA and New York,
Sure.
but you come back to Miami. This is home.
I come back home.
So what is it about Miami? Is it reflected in your work? Is that what makes your work unique?
Well, I always felt, a lot of people always ask me, even when I started my career, why didn't you go to LA? Why didn't you go to New York? And I said, I do. It takes me 2 hours to get there.
Right.
I could just fly there. And, the flights to New York are not that expensive. I just go to New York. Oh, I have an event tomorrow. I go, and LA is the same thing. There's plenty of photographers there, and I felt like I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be with my family, but still do what I like, which is photography. And I got a lot of access here, that I wouldn't necessarily get in New York or LA. But
Yeah, well, Manny, that's one of my questions. How do you get the job? Well, first of all, let me say I've looked through your body of work, and I am a fan. I have not seen a bad picture. Everybody looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm wondering about that.
that's what we do,
It's magic.
making them look good.
But how do you get your assignments? How does it work?
Well, I've been a freelancer all my life. So even when I was in college, I just created my career. So I headed to South Beach and just like LeBron, and I started just covering the nightlife. I started doing stuff for the Miami Herald. I started doing stuff for the Ocean Drive. They were just starting. Well,
Who pays you?
Ocean Drive was just starting at the
Yeah.
time. So I have pages there and different outlets where I could put it. But even at that time, I was sending pictures all over the world. There was not a lot of people that were doing that. I think the bigger agencies were AP and all that, but I was doing that directly with magazines, whether it's in Germany or France. I mean, it was just a whole. It's so easy to do it now.
But you're not paparazzi.
I'm not paparazzi. I consider I do a lot of celebrity stuff, but it's not like I'm hiding in bushes or anything.
Right.
I don't do that. I like to call myself maybe like a polite paparazzi, if you
Well,
want
do
to
you
call
work on assignments, or do you go, I know this event is happening, I'm going to be there, and I have 7 or 8 people who use my stuff all the time?
Right.
Or both, or something
I
else?
do pretty much both. I mean, wherever there's an opportunity, I have to. If it's a great event, I have to be there. It's a great event. But sometimes it's great when I'm already, hired or paid in advance or whatever. I obviously have to make a living, and but there's many aspects of that. Whether I'm hired or then I go out and try to sell my pictures.
Manny, I always wanted to know with photographers, has there ever been a moment where the emotional side of you has been affected by the subject that you were capturing? I see these pictures, these historic pictures of events that have happened in current events in United States history.
Sure.
Have you ever been affected as a photographer?
I mean, I think one of the things that really captured something like what you're talking about was probably when Versace got murdered. I think I photographed Versace many times, and when that happened, it was kind of a little bit surreal because it was what you hear nowadays is different, but Versace was a designer. He was like he's a world-renowned designer and wanted Miami as his home. And so, he took that path every single day. He left his house that day and just walked down to buy magazines, come back. Something he did, on occasion. Many times I saw him and I didn't even take a picture. It was just, it's a local, right? So I think that affected me a little bit. And it's interesting, 20 years later, it's still, a lot of people are still, they're doing documentaries. There's, it was on the Emmys, all over the Emmys. So I think that affected me a little bit,
One of your most well-known pictures is him right in that spot.
Right in that spot. I actually shot that picture 1994, and I was just walking by, and I saw him there, and I said, Miss Versace, take a picture, you know? And he goes, yeah, sure. He took a picture. But if you in the picture, you know, he was still building it. You know, he was still, you know, he bought the hotel next door, and it was going to be his pool area and all that. And I mean, I don't know if you have ever gone to the Versace Mansion. You could, it's open to the public. You could actually walk there, and it's beautiful what he did in there. It's like another Vizcaya.
It's unbelievable.
It's like another Vizcaya. It's a palazzo, whatever they call it in Italy. But it's a beautiful house.
So whether intentionally or not, your work has ended up chronicling the development of Miami and
Yeah,
the changes.
I mean, even at that time, you know, when I did the Versace thing, you know, I would get hired for a lot of his store openings. We did the opening on South Beach where his Donatella was there. And then there was other parties at his house where Madonna would show up, which was an occasion, always happening. You know, she would always go over, or Elton John. I mean, I even got pictures of, like, after Versace passed away. I was at the house and Elton John pulled up. The car pulls up. Elton John gets out. He was in town. I knew he was going to come, so I kind of just waited around, and sure enough, he showed up in this limousine and gets out of the car and with all these flowers, and he put them right on the steps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I have this picture of him putting the flowers on the step. You know?
Do
And
you-
all the people were taking pictures in front, so you know they were. Oh my God, that's Elton John. Wait a minute.
Oh,
They're kind of
taking
shocked,
pictures
you know,
of
like
him
there's a guy
rather
putting
than the
a flower. You go,
moment.
wait a minute, that's Elton John.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so then you know, it was still kind of fresh in the time. He didn't come immediately after it happened, but you know, and then going back to the negative thing, you know, the negatives film.
Right.
Was back then there was no instant, you know,
You had to get it
whatever. So I
developed.
had to go take a picture of the thing or develop it, and there was not much media down here covering it until after the few days after that, as people started coming in. But I was getting calls from all over the world for that assignment. I was very busy that week.
Do you get, what kind of reaction do you get either while you're shooting or subsequently when something is published from the people that you're shooting? Because I noticed in your book, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, that sometimes these people look beautiful and they're posing for you and they know you're shooting. And other times you've caught them candid. You've gotten them when they weren't necessarily posing, and you can see, for good or ill, the inner person. What kind of feedback do you get, either A, when you're shooting, or B, afterwards?
You know, I think when I get opportunities to shoot things. So, you know, whether it's a restaurant or a nightclub, you know, they say, hey, come on in, we want you to shoot it. So, yeah, I like the pose shot of just whatever it is. But I always like that candid approach to images. I mean, I learned that. One of my mentors is Ron Galella, which we were talking earlier. And I always liked his pictures weren't overly intrusive. They were just candid images, and all his books explain that. And I always liked that approach, you know. So I never, you know, a candid is a candid, you know. You know, whether they come out amazing or it's just a unique thing, right? You know, there's they could be the subject, but there could be other things in the background or in the sides or things that complement that image. So I kind of look at those things, you know. So this book, like we were going back to this book thing, you know, it's just a book of my favorites.
Let's see
you
the
know?
Why don't you show the
Yeah,
book?
tell us a little about the book.
Tell us a little
So
about it.
this is a book of images that I like.
What is the cover of the book?
It's called
Candids.
Candids Miami, and I self-published the book. I was going to trying to go the traditional way of, you know, of getting a publisher and all that, but I ended up just doing it myself.
Wow.
And
Talented.
you know, it took me a little while, but these are when the summers were slow. I was like, well, what am I going to do? I have all these images, and a lot of these images I had on like printed, and so I would just sit there on my couch and just like look at images. I'm like, wow, wait a minute, I have all these pictures. What am I going to do with this stuff? Like, what do I do with them now? So now, you know, so this is my first little baby.
Where can we buy this book?
Well, this book I'm gonna have. It's gonna be. It's on Amazon.
Oh,
Perfect.
So you get it on Amazon or Winwood Books.
And how did you choose what's inside? Did you have emotional connections to each
A
picture?
lot of them
or-
are emotional connections to them, not or just a good picture that I like.
Right.
I could probably do, 20 of these books if I wanted to, so, I mean, the book only has about 80 images, but I decided to do them full page so people could actually see them, how they're supposed to be seen, as opposed to like, oh look, I could put 1,000 pictures in this book.
Right.
So, it's a small book, but it's a
Insight
I
into
like
you.
it. I like it. It's
Yeah.
very nice. I love the cover and everything.
What does
It's just-
Candids mean?
It's just that, Candids. It's a different approach of the way you shoot pictures. It doesn't have to be a beautiful set. It doesn't have to be a beautiful. It could be in the street. It could be, even in an alleyway. I don't care. I mean,
Manny, do you need to get permission from the?
No, these are my work. It's my, I'm a photo artist.
But they're so great that whoever is in it is happy
Oh yeah,
that
they
you
could.
did it.
They're available. They could buy them.
I'm curious. Back in
Madonna wants to buy them. She could buy them.
many years ago, I was a photojournalist, among many other things, and there's a difference between shooting in the moment and composing something.
Sure.
You look at Ansel Adams, and you know that he spent a week setting up that picture.
Sure.
Or you will see a photographer who does primarily studio work, and you know that one photograph took an hour and a half to set up. You don't have that luxury, do you?
I think it's sometimes you just shoot, and sometimes you kind of already know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you just don't. It just happens, and that's what I like about it. So whether somebody invites me for an assignment, right? Like you were going back to the assignment thing. It's an assignment. So I go on an assignment, but I don't really know what to expect. Like there's a picture in here of Hugh Hefner, for example. Hugh Hefner, it was a shoot. So they invited us into his bedroom for some reason, and
That's a good place to
and I
take
was
shots
like,
of Hugh Hefner. Right?
and I'm like, okay, so we're going in the bedroom. So I'm here with the reporter. He's interviewing him, and I'm just shooting away, and I'm posing Hefner however I want. Like I go, Mr. Hefner, you move over to a little bit, move over this way, and it's not even like a full. I don't have lights or anything. I'm just shooting with my camera, and it's candid, and he's just there on his bed.
So to some degree, what you do, your editing is primarily in selection of images when you have an array. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, and sometimes I could say I only get one shot. So
Right.
And I got it in one shot, or I didn't get it. It's happened. I remember putting film in my camera, and I didn't put the film in right, and I
Oh,
thought
no.
I had amazing shots, and
And
I
you had
go to the
nothing?
lab, and they develop it, and I was like, I don't know if you ever felt that feeling when you have
We've all felt
the
it at
blood
one
of your body
time.
just goes all the way to the floor.
Yeah.
And
It's when the
you're just
computer
there.
shuts it down and
Right.
the document's gone.
But in this case, it was a film, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe this.
Manny, I wanted to ask you about the dark room. That was something that they used years ago. Is that a concept that some photographers still want to go back to? Because those particular pictures look so rich from the dark room.
Well, that's a good
perspective.
question. I mean, I feel with all the craziness of social media and all the things that people want to create content for free. Everybody's on their phones creating content for free, whether it's their travel or their food or I feel like a lot of people want to go back to the way it was, right? They feel like there's something
Nostalgia.
right, nostalgia,
Artistic.
an essence. There's,
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's arts, whether it's theater, whether it's even television. People, it's easier now because you don't need actual film, but they're still trying to take their craft back to how it was. And I see that in music. I see it in, movies, and. I kind of got stuck there.
When it was an art.
Yeah, when it was an art
And
to
rather
do these
than
things.
someone eating a pile of
Here's my
spaghetti.
food.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
now everybody's
which is fun
everybody's
for
a
a
food
moment.
critic now, you know
Yes.
what I mean? So, or
Right.
like, oh, before you had to have the New York Times come in and actually review. Now you go, you're a reviewer, you're a
Yeah.
reviewer, we're all reviewers. We didn't like it. We didn't like the way this was, or it's too salty or whatever. But
So social media and Twitter has affected a
I think
photographer's
it
business.
is, well, photography-wise, it's definitely, I've had less hires
Yeah.
for it.
Wow.
People just, this is how they promote their things. So, and they, just shoot constantly, and it's okay. I mean, I like it as well, but I don't think people appreciate a photography. They're just like, like, and they don't even appreciate the actual image. And you're also seeing it in a little square in your phone. So I think, even going back to originality, people are buying more vinyls now. Like, all the bands are they're doing vinyls, and people are going, buying a record player and actually putting on a record. They just, that's what they're doing.
So along with the book, have you considered doing an exhibit with your work so they wouldn't see a small square? They're
Yeah,
seeing
I mean,
your work?
I've done exhibits before, and they're a lot of work.
Yeah.
But even going back to the vinyls and all that, the book is is that too,
Right.
So you could see it on a screen, you could see it, also displayed and all that. But there's something about a book, I mean, whether you read a story or whether you look at photos, you could go back and you could dwell on it a little bit more. And,
Manny, it sounds like you really love what you do. Could you tell us a little bit how you got started when you were a child? Did you always want to do this, or
No,
did you?
I mean, I had no idea I was going to be a photographer. I was going to college, and I just went to college, and I needed a job. I needed like a side gig, and somebody told me, "Hey, can you take pictures of this and that?" It was in politics, and I was shooting picnics and things, and I was like, you know what? I don't really like this politic thing, and so I got out of it, and then and I said, let me go to celebrities, maybe celebrities and people, people. And that's how I started. I started just shooting like Latin celebrities, and just, then I went to South Beach, and then.
And they saw them? The celebrities saw the pictures, and did they encourage you because you were
No,
good?
I mean,
How were you
I was
encouraged
just
along the
shooting,
way?
just shooting stuff. I just started taking pictures. I worked with Ron Galella then. I got introduced to Ron. I had to go up to New York, and I met him. And up to this day, we still talk on the phone. I mean, he's 88 years old, and still a mentor. I mean, he's his knees are messed up, but aside from that, he still has it. He's still doing books and doing things, and and he loves photography, which is a very, very important thing. It's to love your craft. You gotta, you're a theater person. You love your craft, and
We do.
You just do it, right?
Is that what led to the
acting.
blogging as well?
The blogging is just another I have so much material, and I figured, well, let me just cover something and
Right.
just add another outlet to whatever I'm covering.
What's your blog address? How do people
It's
find your blog?
MannyofMiami.com.
Okay.
So I try to keep that Manny of Miami. There's a guy in Hollywood that he called himself
Bruno of Hollywood?
Yeah, of Hollywood.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then I
my
was like,
goodness.
And I was like,
I have
what?
a picture of Bruno of Hollywood.
I'm gonna put, I'm of
Manny of
Miami, and then I looked it up.
Fabulous.
The domain was available, and then I was like, I'm gonna just brand it this way, and even if you look at the logo of the way I did like an old school Miami Vice logo,
Yeah,
that's
and it's
cool.
the
Yeah.
Manny of
Yeah.
Miami. So
I don't want to, but we're not done, but we're closing in. I didn't want us to go before you dedicated that book, Candids, to Charlie Cinnamon, the iconic and late press agent. Would you talk a little bit about that and the fact that you helped curate this exhibit at the Jewish Museum?
Well, Charlie was a very dear friend, and so this year we did an exhibit at the Jewish Museum, which was
In New York?
It was in
No.
South Beach, South Florida, as FIU Jewish Museum, and his family came to me. They didn't know what to do with a lot of his stuff as far as like awards, and they just knew that he was very important in the arts community, but they lived in Atlanta, and so they wanted us to do something, and so we did this event. Me with Richard J. Alexander, the Broadway producer. And we created this beautiful exhibit about his life, about his arts contributions. He's like, Marjorie Stonewall Douglas. What she did for the Everglades. Charlie did for the arts, and his hand was. He touched, the ballet. He touched the symphony. He touched so many
Certainly
aspects
theater
of
in
and
South
definitely
Florida.
theater. And then a great press agent that he was, and he always called himself a press agent because he liked to be a press agent. And he was a one-man show, and so I dedicated the book to him because I would go to his house and I would take stacks of pictures, and he would look through them and he says, "Where's your book? Where's your book? How come you don't have a book?" Unfortunately, I was still working on it 2 years ago, and so I said, you know what, this is Charlie's year as well, exhibit, and I'm going to dedicate the book to him as well.
Wonderful.
And my promo picture that I used for this to promote the book is with this sweater, which he gave to me.
Oh, and you wore it today.
Perfect.
So I
So
wore
he's
it
with
today.
us today.
Oh, that's great.
Terrific.
I have one other thing before we get, being of a certain particular generation, I lose track of who is a celebrity, a wannabe celebrity. I'm not kidding. How do you keep track of who you should be photographing and who is somebody who's just really well dressed?
Well, I mean, you just watch TV. Award shows are good.
Every time you see Jennifer Lopez, take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Jennifer Lopez has had an amazing career, and she's still, to stay on top of your game after all these years. It's always staying on top of your game. How do you not lose that, that
It
oomph,
factor.
in life, and even our dear friend Iris Acker, even through her life, she still continued promoting the arts, and what a career.
Absolutely.
Well, I couldn't ask for a better segue out of this. That was very sweet. I'd love to sit and talk here for another hour, which you all know I can do, but unfortunately our time is up. I want to thank our panelists for being here today and our guest Manny of Miami.
Thank you.
And I especially want to thank you for watching today. As always, we encourage you to get out and go see a show at the theater. To find out what's happening in South Florida, you can go to floridatheateronstage.com and check out the arts calendar. Join us here next week for another episode of Spotlight on the Arts.